The only thing that I intend to have resign is Hamas. We're going to resign them to the dustbin of history. That's my goal, that's my responsibility, and that's what I'm leading the country to do.
That was the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dismissing the calls for him to resign and ruling out a ceasefire with Hamas. Let's get to Tel Aviv. Oliver Crook is on the ground. Oliver, fairly defiant Netanyahu. The latest on the ground operations. Good morning.
That's right, Manus. As things intensify in the ground operation, we really have to pay closer and closer attention to those daily briefings we get from the Israeli Defense Forces. And so we've been watching that this morning. What we understand is that they have expanded yet further their operation on the ground in Gaza. They say they're going to continue to raid the areas. They are not giving a huge amount of detail on the mechanics, but they say that they're continuing to do that and that they're going to focus their activity really on the north. This is why they had asked so many people to evacuate. They say 800,000 people have left the area, which still leaves quite a few, but they say that that is a positive development. That as we have more than 8,000 dead in Gaza, according to the health authorities there. The other few things that we're watching about are aid. The Israelis have said that aid will increase substantially this week, either today or tomorrow, potentially getting to that 100 trucks a day, which is what the UN and other aid agencies are necessary to get any kind of substantial relief in. Only 26 yesterday, so really until we see those cross. And then the question of hostages, they understand that they recovered one Israeli soldier. She is back home. She is in good condition and apparently had some intelligence for them in terms of the operations within Gaza.
Oliver, one thing that stuck out to all of us in the most recent 24 hours is the UN warning that in Syria it's the most dangerous it's been for a long time. What is happening in the region of a whole with this increase of unrest we've seen?
I mean, Danny, take your pick. I mean, Syria, you have Israel still striking in there, returning fire from operations that are happening within there. The U.S. has also targeted at least 2 targets within Syria, so that's one of the points. But another story out overnight from Bloomberg reporting something that actually happened last week, but that Saudi forces are on high alert after there was some fighting in the southwest of Saudi Arabia with Houthi rebels that killed 4 Saudi soldiers. So this is all, these are many of the flashpoints. You still have fighting going on in Lebanon. And of course, something that we need to watch also very closely is the West Bank. From Sunday to Monday, there were 6 Palestinians killed by Israeli forces. This is all part of the mix in terms of where the sparks could come in the next level of this war.
Yeah, and there's a number of warnings from the British government in terms of traveling to some of the countries in the Middle East. But that high alert for Saudi is particularly prescient. Netanyahu, in terms of the other issues that he addressed last night, his political future, he was very firm on that. What else stood out for you?
Yeah, so he was really a prime minister, it felt, on the defensive. It was a press conference that he gave in English. There were a lot of foreign journalists who managed to put questions forward, and defensive on 2 fronts. On the first front, which is basically Israel's actions in Gaza, he was really trying to send the message that he has throughout this, that there's a difference between the way that Hamas attacked Israel and the way that Israel is, though killing civilians, doing so as sort of incidentally. This is something, again, as you have 8,000 people dead, that may not be resounding terribly with the full global audience. But the second front that he is defensive on, he was asked last night by a journalist, you are losing confidence of the Israeli people. Will you resign? Will you step down? He said, no, absolutely not. The only thing I want to resign, as we heard him say earlier, is Hamas to the dustbin of history. But really, this is the question for many of us and for many people who are watching Netanyahu as the pressure rises, particularly after those posts over the weekend where he was really blaming the Israeli defense system, which were really taken very poorly in Israel.
Oliver, it's been almost a week, not quite, but almost a week that the U.S. has actually had a Speaker of the House with Johnson in charge. Where do we stand on American aid to Israel?
So really, this is going to complicate a little bit, as it seems. What Biden had tried to do, as we recall, after he came to Israel, he gave that sort of Oval Office address, and he said that we need to deal with a lot of different crises at once, and he rolled them all together to this request in Congress for more than $100 billion. Now, what the GOP is wanting to do with its new leadership is to disentangle all of these parts because they don't want to support, in the same hand, Ukraine and Israel. So the GOP is willing to put forward this bill for $14.3 billion for Israel, which is key funding for Israel and is very closely watched here. Okay. But again, it makes it more complicated now because it completely changes the dynamic of what the Biden administration was trying to get through.